What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for an episode of Player Ratings, first episode of the new season, as we beat Southampton 4-1 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Exactly the right way to start the Premier League campaign as we mean to go on. And let's start off with Hugo Lloris. 7s all round from us. And to be honest, it was mostly a quiet day for Hugo Lloris yesterday. I mean, the only save I remember him being forced into was in the second half, I think with that effort from Aribo. And I don't think he could have done much with the goal. It was a really good strike for James Ward-Prowse, but apart from that, not really much action for Hugo yesterday.
Yeah, that was the only 2 shots on target he had to deal with. To be fair, it was a pretty good save from the Aribo strike. Low down to his left, he had to palm it away. But nothing else really of note. It was a quiet day. It seemed like maybe he was in for a busy day when Ward-Prowse took the lead. But unlike last season when Southampton had a flurry of chances during that game, it was very different this time around.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's move on to Emerson Royal. 8s all round from us, and a really good display from Emerson. Was poor for the goal we conceded early on, to be honest, where he got beaten on the byline, where he went to ground way too easily. But after that, I mean, he really made up for it, had a major impact on the game. Laid one on to Kane in the first half, where he should have done better from. Second half really came alive with 2 assists, 1 for the own goal, and then moments later teeing up Kulusevski for that brilliant goal. Felt like in the second half that he was absolutely immense, both defensively and offensively.
Yeah, and he's always had the physicality to dominate that right wing back slot and the right hand side of the pitch, but he's now adding a bit more to his game. Obviously continuing his form from the back end of last season. For the goal, obviously really hard work to win the tackle inside his own half, charge forward, then he started the move, then finishing the move as well, albeit a lot of luck with the own goal. And then obviously the assist for Kulusevski, having the presence of mind to see Kulusevski in space, put it on a plate for him, and obviously Kulusevski did the rest. First half he got forward a lot and he did well, although a few attacking situations I felt he took a few too many touches, but made up for it for a great second half performance. And I think in general really, really positive from Emerson. He's getting better and better.
Absolutely. Let's move on to Cristian Romero. 8s all round from us. Set the tone with his hard and flying tackles early on in the game. Very, very strong in the tackle, as always, and he did really well from building from the back and got forward quite well as well. Nearly involved in a sensational goal with him and Kulusevski. It was some nice link-up play in the opposition box with Romero's back heel just about missing out from finding, was it Kulusevski, I think, yeah, it was Kulusevski's. But yeah, really good performance again from Cristian Romero.
Yeah, and he supported the attack really well, which was even more needed in this kind of game when Southampton were playing with a back 5. So that was really, really good. He was involved in an incident in the second half where a lot of fans might think he could have been sent off with a scissor kind of challenge, but I think it was probably the right decision to only give a foul, although maybe he's lucky to escape a yellow. I think in general, though, he was really dominant throughout the game, although it wasn't his most testing game defensively, but offensively I think he did a really good job helping out the team and keeping the play ticking over and always being an option in that right centre-back slot.
Let's move on to Eric Dier. 8s all round once again. Seems like these ratings getting a bit predictable, but he led the line really well, Eric Dier. Very great leadership qualities about him. Defensively, he was on point, especially when Southampton had their set pieces. We all know James Ward-Prowse, the deliveries that he can put in, and he stood up to them really well. Great aerial ability. Took his goal sensationally well, getting down so low for that Sonny cross. And we need to see more from that from Eric Dier, because we know he can be a goal threat when he's on his day. And I think the stat you said, first Premier League goal in 3 years or something like that. He needs to be doing better in that sense, but a great way to start the season with.
Yeah, I thought in general he was really commanding in possession as well, and he was spraying some nice passes left and right to the wing backs, and I think he was actually really aggressive stepping into midfield when need be as well. So I was very happy with that, and obviously it topped off with a nice flick header into the corner. It was a really nice finish, so good stuff from Eric Dier.
Yeah, and let's move on 1 second to Ben Davies. 8s all round from us once again. Really solid game from Ben. Defended well for most part. He did let Southampton in behind him once, but Lloris was there to back him up from that Aribo shot. Tested the keeper from range as well late in the second half with a decent effort. But yeah, another good display from Ben Davies.
Yeah, I think in general he was good. He started the game a bit sloppily with a foul on Walker Peters down the left-hand side, but he kind of didn't make any more mishaps after that. I did think he struggled aerially with Aribo, but that was only on a couple of occasions, and it didn't really cost us dearly. The other players seemed to make up for him. Did nearly score a goal with a nice strike from 25 yards, which Bazunu was able to get a hand to, and he was unlucky that Norm was following up with a rebound. But all in all, similar with the Romero, very good in coming into the final third and helping out the team. And he seems to be getting more and more involved with that. So good stuff from Ben Davies.
Absolutely. Let's move on to Ryan Sessegnon. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 9. Very confident display from Sess, as he did exactly what we've been calling him to do the whole of last season, to be honest. He was always on the front foot looking to attack his man, and got his rewards as well for that, as he opened the scoring for Spurs with a header at the back post, which is a hallmark of an Antonio Conte team, hitting that brilliant Kulusevski cross. Also had another goal ruled out for offside, where it was an absolutely unbelievable finish from Ryan Sessegnon on his right peg, curling into the back post. Nothing really got past him defensively either, so really, really positive display from Ryan Sessegnon.
Yeah, and I think he's playing with the confidence we've all been hoping that he would coming into this season. It seems like the work he's done over the summer seems to be helping him a lot. Obviously, the goal he scored was typical Conte wing-back goal, arriving at the back post and heading it home. But his final third quality seems to be improving as week in, week out. He played some really nice crosses into the box, one just avoiding Emerson, which would have found him if it wasn't for a little touch from Salisu. And he seems to be a lot more confident when coming into the final third as well. So very happy with Sessegnon right now, and hopefully keeps improving.
Yeah, exactly. And also with Perisic waiting in the wings, it was important for him to have a good performance like that as well. Which moves us on to Rodrigo Bentancur. Sim gives him a 9. I gave him an 8. Comfortable day for Bentancur in the middle of the park. He used the ball really well, with composure as well, not only just to keep things ticking along, but also to start attacks for us and really drive us forward from the middle of the park. He was also really strong and aggressive in the challenge as well, and putting out fires consistently in the middle for Tottenham Hotspur. So another really good display from Rodrigo. And as well, like I said for Sessegnon, how it's important for him to have big performance with Perisic waiting in the wings. It's important for Bentancur as well, with Bissouma waiting in the wings.
Of course, and I thought Bentancur had an exceptional display. Actually, the amount of times he was setting us on attacks with quick little passes, which opened up the space and opened up the game, was absolutely brilliant. I thought, as always, he does the defensive work, and that's never been in question. That calm, composed elegance he has in the centre of midfield is something that we've really benefited from ever since he's joined from Juventus back in January. I think again yesterday was another example of that, except he was even more he in terms of him being in central midfield, he had all that time, and he wasn't dallying on the ball. He wasn't losing possession like he has been guilty of a couple of times last season. It was one of his best performances in the Spurs shirt for me.
Let's move on to Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg. 8s all round from us. Dominated in the midfield throughout for me. Had his hand in Dier's goal as well, where he found Sonny on the left-hand side with a lovely little ball. Also played Sonny in another time where Sonny probably should have done better from. And also with Hojbjerg, I think he should have been doing a bit better from the goal we conceded in. The ball goes above his head and didn't really close down his man either. So I'm not going to mark him down too much on that, because we did win 4-1. I did think it was a good display from Hojbjerg apart from that.
Yeah, it was caught a bit flat-footed for the goal, but I think he more than made up for it. There was a couple of moments in the first half where a few passes went astray, and it was a bit sloppy, but I think he more than made up for it for some more creative passing, and there was some really good moments throughout the game. You mentioned it before, the one ball over top for the Sonny chance, which Sonny struck with his left foot, was a good save from Bazunu. He was involved in another moment in the first half where he wins the ball in the centre of the park right at the end of the first half and plays it to Son, who was unlucky not to get on the score sheet. He kind of ballooned it over. He was also played the ball through to Emerson for the fourth goal, which Emerson found Kulusevski. So that was a really good pass, and he led the attack as well for the third goal. Although his pass was slightly behind Son, making it a bit harder, but it still ended up with the goal. So really strong showing, I thought, from Hojbjerg yesterday, and he was involved in a lot of the good work we did.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was just not a bad player on the pitch yesterday for Spurs. There just wasn't. Which brings us on to the star of the show, which was Dejan Kulusevski. 9s all round from us, and it was a scintillating display from our ginger from Sweden. Unbelievable assist for Sessegnon's goal as he checked inside and whipped in a beautiful curling cross that found Ryan Sessegnon's head. The second half, he was just absolutely unplayable. He really was, and the best player on the pitch by far. Southampton just couldn't get close to him. They didn't know how to deal with him. They couldn't get close to him. They couldn't back off him either. He had the answers for everything, and he capped off his display with a lovely finish straight out the Kulusevski playbook with his left foot curling into the bottom corner. So an absolutely brilliant display from Kulu yesterday.
Yeah, he was sensational, and Southampton just didn't know how to deal with him throughout the whole 90 minutes. If they got close to him, then he would spin away and find space down the wing. If they stood off him, then he had time and space to pick out a pass or put it into the far corner. The cross for Sessegnon's goal was absolutely pinpoint, sensational cross with so much power and accuracy right onto Sessegnon's head. That shows the quality he's got in his left peg. The goal was obviously classic Kulusevski whipping it into the far corner, but it wasn't just that. It was his first touches in tight spaces, spinning away from defenders, showing them up, doing step overs, creative passes into Romero and through balls into Sessegnon, who nearly scored on the left hand side as well. He also played a through ball into Kane, who set up Son for a chance late in the game. I mean, he was just involved in so much good work. It was such an sensational performance, and with now 6 goals and 9 assists in 19 games, the guy has just been a phenomenon ever since arriving.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, there's not many better right wingers in the Premier League than him at the moment. You know, apart from Salah and Mahrez, who you probably say are more accomplished and better players than him as it stands right now. Who else is there? There's no one.
Can't think of anyone.
There's no one. Let's move on to Harry Kane. 7s all round from us. Fairly quiet game from Kane by his standards, with Spurs scoring 4 goals, and he wasn't involved in any of them in terms of goals or assists. He did test the keeper on a number of occasions, but I did feel like he did get better in that second half as he dropped deeper and tried to dictate the play a bit more. But yeah, like I said, by his high standards, it was a fairly quiet display.
Yeah, his passing was still really strong. I thought on another day he could end up with a couple of assists, one for Son, and then he obviously nearly scored at the end of the first half as well. I think he was still linking up really well with Kulusevski, and he was involved in a lot of good work. But in terms of touches in the penalty area and goal scoring chances, there wasn't really too many of them. But he did a good job for the team, and I think it carries on a lot of the good work he was doing last season as well, where a lot of the games he was just doing a very good job for the team, and he didn't necessarily have to be the centre of everything. I remember we went 3 or 4 games scoring lots of goals, and he didn't score any. He was just assisting, and he carried on in that kind of vein of form.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's move on to the last of the starting 11, Heung-min Son. 8s all round from us, and I felt Sonny had a really strong game. I mean, the only thing that let him down on the day was his shooting, because that did seem to be off, but everything apart from that seemed to be bang on point, and as he gave Southampton an absolutely torrid time. You know, there was a couple of moments like the shooting that I was talking about where he completely ballooned one over the bar, which on another day he's probably absolutely rifling that into the net, but he was causing problems for Southampton all day long with his direct running, and obviously he got that brilliant assist for Eric Dier as well for his header that got down low.
Yeah, fantastic cross that was, and I thought he was involved in a lot of the good stuff that was going through during the attack for Spurs. Just didn't really have a shooting boot on. He had a couple of really good chances. One right at the end of the first half, which he beat 2 players and then kind of blazed over. Harry Kane was demanding the pass, and he didn't oblige. He went for goal himself. Then obviously in the second half, he had a chance to open up his body and wrap the ball around to the far corner, which Sodio is obviously a master at, but he just didn't quite catch it right, and ended up going right right through to the goalkeeper. But I thought he actually was really creative. Obviously set up the third goal, played a really nice through ball to Emerson, which Emerson obviously caused the own goal. And I think he set up a few other chances as well, although in the first half there were a few times where his touch looked a bit sloppy. But I think once he was into the game, he was a big threat. So it wasn't obviously his best display, but I still thought it was a massive threat and he played really well.
Yeah. Let's move on to the only substitute which we're going to give a rating to, and that is Ivan Perisic, who came on for the last 25 minutes, half an hour for Ryan Sessegnon. Got half an hour for his debut as he came on. Looked really good with his energy, running, hitting the byline on one occasion as well. Didn't offer the same threat as Sessegnon, I felt, but for the most part, definitely there's definitely more to come from Perisic, that's for sure.
Yeah, and he did put in some really good crosses throughout the. He put in 3 crosses in the time he was on the pitch, which was really good. And he was involved in a few other situations, but obviously we didn't get to see him properly in sustained attacks because the game was dying out pretty much when he came on. But still, we saw, even though he was on the pitch for half an hour, we still saw quite a bit of what he can bring. And I'm so confident that once he gets a full run to the team, he's going to be a serious player for us.
And last but not least, Antonio Conte, 8 for me, 9 for Sim. Picked the team that ended the season and was vindicated for that as we played with cohesion and intensity throughout the game. He had the luxury of quality off the bench, which he didn't have last season. When he's looking at the bench last season and he's struggling to think of who to bring on. This time he made 5 changes and all quality players coming on as well, which I feel is going to make a massive difference from us going into the season. Biggest win on the first day of the season for Spurs since 1985 as well. So I can't ask for more from Antonio Conte, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think he did really well to start the season with that team, because I think he could have been tempted to give some of the new signings a start, or could have been tempted in those situations to change it up a bit. But he stuck by his guns. He trusted the players who got us Champions League last season and was duly rewarded with that trust. And I think we've sharpened up as well our approach play. I think that although we were playing quite well at the end of last season, we've kind of even gotten better in the structure of Conte, and that's all down to his pre-season work and the work he's been putting in. And I think he's done a fantastic job in pre-season to get us to this level. The fitness looked completely on point, and although we conceded, we completely dominated. It was just one of those moments where, yeah, we could have done better, but we've got to give Ward-Prowse credit for a brilliant strike, but we didn't let it affect us. And we've got the mentality of this team seems to be absolutely fantastic. Things aren't affecting us, and we're creating chances at will, even against teams playing 5 at the back and looking to frustrate us. They played 5 at the back and 3 across the middle, and it didn't seem to trouble us going forward. So that's a really, really good sign. And how the wing backs are playing as well. They're really getting to grips with how Conte wants his wing backs. So really, really good from Conte. Couldn't be happier.
Absolutely. So that is your player ratings for the first game of the season. 4-1 battering demolition of Southampton. Spurs sit top of the league after the first game of the season. As of recording, Brighton have just gone 1-0 up against Manchester United as well. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.